What's up, everybody? The Poets here, and we're going to be doing a really special build today. We have here the Threadripper 3990X, 32-core, nope, psych, it's the 64-core, 128 thread processor, and we have Robert here. Robert is a veteran, he has served to protect our country. He reached out to me not too long ago, and we kind of had a really nice rapport over email and stuff. He saw some of my videos, and he just wanted some help in terms of what he can do to properly utilize this system. And I didn't know him from anything, so yeah. I immediately saw that, okay, he was really genuine. Started telling me a little bit about his family life and stuff, and I was like, okay, I can definitely help him out here. One, because obviously a high-end system like this, we'll kind of do the math to see how much money this costs. Yeah, it might make you sad. Yes. But also make sure that it runs perfectly fine. But he's got a full boat on his hands. He has a daughter. I don't know if you want to talk about your daughter's elements at all.
Yeah, my daughter, she's struggling with brain cancer right now, and she's, doing everything that an 8-year-old with cancer could be doing. So she's a trooper. Yeah. So.
And she just had a birthday. He got her this really nice laptop. We're not have to go into it. And I was like, wow, what is that? So impressive. So what we're going to do today is to basically optimize what he has already started doing. It was kind of like Christmas for him. He started getting parts in the mail and started putting them together. And the first thing I started asking was, did you flush the radiators?
No. I was in such a haste.
Yes. Yeah. So that's what we're going to do first. So we're going to drain the loop here. We're not going to make this a 2-hour video showing everything. I'm going to do a little bit of cuts, and my music style, so we're going to kind of make it groovy in a little way.
Good music,
yeah, and we're going to kind of optimize the loop as well. So one thing that he has here, he already has a water block here from EKWB. It's the Velocity, very nice. I use a different style of Velocity, but we're both waiting on Optimus to send us their new fangled water block, which promises, in terms of basically heat management theory, we'll just leave it at that term, its fins actually cover more than 100% of the IHS. So when you have more surface area on top of something that has 64 cores or 32 cores, if you have the 3990X, that's going to dissipate heat a bit better than anything that this can do. It's all theory, thermodynamics is something that is kind of cool if you want to read into it. But we're both anxiously waiting, so Optimus?
Yes.
Where is it? I need to do my review on that. All right, so let's get going. The first thing we're going to do is drain this bad boy. All right?
Let's do it.
All right.
Yeah. I never trust those things. That's why I put that cap on there. Oh, I'm sorry. I've got to make you better. There it goes. All right. Let's do this the right way. I've been doing this since almost 2000, and I swear this is the least amount of water that I've not gotten all over the place in a very long time. So probably because you're helping.
So I'm not sure if you can really pick this up on camera, but these are the Be Quiet Silent Wings 3 fans. They're really nice. But they come with different attachments in order to put them on either like a radiator or the back of a fan. So you'll see these are kind of crumped a little bit.
They used the wrong fittings.
Yes, you used the wrong fittings. So we'll show what the correct fittings are. It's fine. As you see, we have a lot of them. So it's up to this guy if he wants to replace them all. But yeah, these are really used for if you're going to put these on like the exhaust of a case or like intake of a case. Helps with vibration, noise management basically. But there's other ones that are just kind of flush that really go nicely with radiators. So
the correct ones.
Yes, the correct way to do it. So what we're doing here is he's got a couple of radiators. We never did get them flushed appropriately. So we're just pouring a lot of distilled water right into them. You know, making it nice and easy, nice and clean until there's no more gunk. I can kind of see some like little black shavings that are black somethings that are coming out of here. We don't want those caught up in the, or really in anything, in the CPU block. If he adds GPU block later on, you know, we just want this perfectly clean. So, simple as this. This is all metal, so you don't have to be too easy and careful with it. Just pour it in. A funnel makes it a little easier. Okay. And then you do the shake. Shake, 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 shake. And you do this like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times until you just need to stop. So this is a filter, and you can see all the crud in there. Hopefully you can see it on camera. That is basically what happens when a radiator is not flushed. It's a brand new system. It might have been running for what, 24 hours, if that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So all those little black bits in there, that's basically crud from inside the radiators. So most likely some of this is in the fins on the water block, but he's changing out the water block soon anyway for the Optimus block, so moot point. But yeah, wash your radiators. So when you don't have a drill, this is the quick way to get 50 screws undone. Just a little palm rolling. There it goes. Very simply. So yeah, flushing these, there's still stuff here. We're going to douse it with distilled water numerous times. Do the shake, shake, dance. And just get all the gunk that's out of there. Now, Robert had initially filled it. We're not going to take apart the CPU block because this is just temporary, him using this block. There might be gunk caught up in the fins because there were little black shavings already in one radiator. But when he gets that water block from Optimus, he's going to replace that anyway. So it'll be nice and fresh. And he will also properly be flushing the system at that time too, right, Robert?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So anytime you get a chance to flush your system, just do it, you know, and then just add more distilled water or whatever type of, you know, basically coolant you're going to be using. Make sure it has the proper biocides in it as well. Some people use a little bit of silver too. You don't see that as often anymore because it doesn't prevent anything. So if you're going to use any type of like EKWB cryofuel or whatever you may be using, it has a proper biocide in it anyway. So this is the shake, 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 shake. See these bulging muscles? Oh yeah. So we finished flushing the radiators. Pretty much all manufacturers don't have a clean process. Even like EKWB, they say you don't need to wash theirs. I have EK, I wash mine, and stuff still comes out. These are OC Cool, whatever they're called. They're very nice radiators. You see a lot of YouTubers use these for their systems as well. But still, a lot of stuff came out. So now we're going to take some time and unscrew all the fans, put the correct fan fittings on there. Yes. And I mean, if you have, what, a $10,000 system, put the right fittings on. So these are the Be Quiet Silent Wings 3 fans, high speed, very good. These are 120 millimeters here. So these are the little rubber ends that we're taking off. These are meant to go when you're just kind of attaching these to the case, like as an exhaust or an intake. You have to kind of press this little tiny thing down right here, and then boop, comes off. So just have to do that 3,000 more times, and then attach the new ones on that are more flush for the radiators. So what we decided to do was put one of the 360 rads on the side of the fan, or side of the case, so that it could be exhausted. So that's going to be some additional heat that is not going into the case as before would have. Now it's just being exhausted to the side.
Yeah, and look at all this free space that frees up down here.
This is the Phanteks. Well, they used to call it the Lux 2. That's the name that I prefer, but whatever. They had to change it to the 719 because of BS reasons. And it's a horrible name too, but it makes sense. It's like their 7th series, and it's made in 2019, therefore the 719, blah, blah, blah. Engineers should not be doing marketing. That's what it comes down to.
We're not meant for that.
All right, what we decided to do is put the reservoir here on the second bottom fan because this gives us the opportunity to still do any service management that we need to do. So this bracket right here actually does come out, and that's where you put hard drive cages here. We can put additional fans here, and just more easily serviceable to keep all this area open as well. So after we plug this in, we're gonna put the 360 up top here, about the 480 bringing in cool air. We'll have the 360 here blowing out hot air, and just an efficient system. It's gonna look good. We've made some great progress so far. We decided to mount the reservoir. This is a EK reservoir pump combo right now. It's a D5 pump. We decided to mount it right here to give more space for future servicing. This is going to be used in an office environment. This 3990X 64 core 128 thread is going to be used for a lot of virtual machines. How many virtual machines total? 10 virtual machines. 10 minimum virtual machines. So I mentioned that to Steve at Gamers Nexus, and he was like, yeah, that's an appropriate use case for 64 cores. Him and Bearded Hardware did a live stream of overclocking the 3990X. Geez, I can't get used to saying that. The 3990X just yesterday. They got it overclocked to 4.9 gigahertz using liquid metal. Using LN2. Liquid nitrogen. And they did a great job. They just had to stop because they started to get some condensation, some water underneath the board. So that's the only reason why they had to stop, but they had a lot of headroom to go even further. I think the world records right now have been using 5.5 gigahertz on this 3990X. So getting all core, 64 cores at 5.5 gigahertz is ridiculous. So yeah, you're gonna get a lot of use cases out of this. You have what, 128 gigs of RAM? 128 gigs of RAM in this. He's got 2 M.2 slots filled already, and the reason why we decided to put the reservoir up here is because with this cage, now we can easily service this in and out. So you can put a bunch of hard drives right here, you can put fans, just more capabilities to correctly be serviced in an office environment. So we're gonna start to do the tubing now. Basically knock this all out. We're almost done, and then it's really just focusing on the most important thing, which is the RGB. So, all right. So now we're at the stage where we're kind of laying out all the fittings, getting an idea of exactly the loop order. I always say it all the time. Loop order doesn't matter in terms of like if the water is coming from the CPU to a radiator to GPU or anything like that. It all levels out in the end. In a very, very efficient loop order, maybe you'll see 1 degree, 2 degrees Celsius difference on the CPU or GPU, but in the end, it's not worth it. What is more important is where the exhaust is for the heat. So if you have your hottest liquid, wherever that ends up being in your system, being, say, exhausted in the top, and then again exhausted in the side, that's going to overall give you better longevity in your system because you have less hot air being blown into your system and it's more being blown out. So we're going to do an exhaust on the top, an exhaust on the side radiator here, and then an intake for this 480 as the coolest part of the loop. And then we're also going to put 3 120 millimeter fans on the bottom here as intake for just fresh air. And this does have a nice little filter on the bottom too. It's a very nice case for all this. You get all kinds of flexibility, and this is going to allow him to be more flexible in the future and just do very easy maintenance, as well as this is going to be an office environment with 10 virtual machines using this 64-core processor. So it's more about uptime and easy maintenance rather than aesthetics, but I'm here to make it kind of look fancy. So. All right, so Robert, what are you working on right now?
I'm just essentially putting our bottom fans on here where we used to have the radiator down here. So now we're actually going to be pulling nice, cool ambient air into the case. But yeah, so just working on the fans. But before, the way that I had it, as far as what's here now, this is more clean. This is cleaner. It appears more professional, and it's easily serviceable, and it will be for the actual drain port. The fill port will actually be functional because of the way that gravity and pressure works. We were essentially, it was at the wrong point in the case, so that way when I was filling, essentially it would back up to it. So there's a lot of just kind of maintenance, quality of life improvements that this is improving on and fixing, to be quite honest.
So we have a lot of water cooling specialists on YouTube, and it's kind of like a nice little family. This shirt is actually from Paul's Hardware. I don't know if you understand the joke. This is a cap with thumb screws.
A cap with thumb screws.
Captive thumb screws.
Oh, got it. I got it.
So
I was lost there.
yeah. So Paul, hopefully you learned something from a build like this. Nice and simple, all right? Functional. But check out Paul's Hardware's YouTube channel. He does an exceptional job. I learn stuff from him all the time. And you can get this shirt from his merch store. So check it out. That's a fan port?
Fan port, yeah. I heard fan port, yeah.
Fill port. All right. We're using a fill port, I think. That's where we're at. So the Phanteks 719 does have a nice fill port up top here and the drain port. We don't have the correct fittings right now to fill the drain port with the right fitting, even though we have a massive amount of fittings here. Micro Center, which is literally like a mile away, closed on us 11 minutes ago. So what I did was, to make it functional, just did a little tube here. It's, you know, got its end closed off, so that's perfectly fine. And later on, we can actually just attach it to the drain port here. Now the fill port, now we wanted to make sure that we had pretty much all the tubing on this side, just so that everything else is accessible. We didn't have tubing going all over the place because this needs to be easily maintained in an office environment. So if we do use the fill port, there's gonna be one more tube in here. It's gonna not look as aesthetically pleasing as I would like it to. We might be able to use some 45-degree angles or 90s, you know, just to make it easily accessible, but that's the debate right now. All right, so we decided to actually utilize the fill port on the top here, connected to the fill port of the 719. We used a 45-degree angle, and these are EK 45s. We have a mix of kind of bits power and EK stuff going on because I think what Micro Center ran out of EK stuff, or ran out of one of the two. They ran out of, somebody ran out of something. Yeah. So this is the order that we went in. So we have the D5 pump, EK D5 pump, going into the Threadripper 3990X, out into a 360 rad up top, exhausting hot air, out into the 360 rad on the side, exhausting hot air, into the 480 rad, pulling cool air in, so it's the coldest water of the loop basically at this point, which then comes into the EK D5 pump again. So now we're going to start filling up, leak testing, and see what breaks. All right.
Man, that fill port actually works. The one that I had before that did not work correctly.
All right, so what are your thoughts so far?
Oh, that the fill port actually functions correctly. Everything else actually looks a lot better. So it's nice and organized, neat and tidy. It actually looks professional. So, which clearly I didn't do. So
yeah, you did a lot of this work. You did a lot of it.
No, I'm very very happy. Yeah, and I'm very grateful that you're helping me with this. So
my pleasure. Getting to play around with a new toy.
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun. All right, so you can see that there is still some green tint in here. That's because this water block is so massive. There was a lot of this stuff here, EK Crowfield, inside of it. This is the acid green. All right, go Romulans. And so right now we're just gonna make sure that there's no leaks, paying close attention to it. There's a lot of air in the system. It's gonna take a little while for it to all get out, except the way that we do have the radiators positioned, it won't take all that long because we have the ports upward on both of the upright radiators. And that's kind of the easiest way to make sure that the air gets out of the system for those. And then flat is just flat. That's just going to take as long as flat takes, which is not too long.
a couple of tilts.
Yeah. There's going to be some air in here. That's just how the game goes, and a couple of tilts later it'll be gone. Other than that, so far so good. No immediate leaks. Just the normal sound of air bubbles coming and going. Yep. No leaks on the drain port.
Yep.
Holding tight. So far so good. We don't have any fan splitters. Fan blah blah blah. It's been a long day. So we're almost done with all the cable management. We did have a little bit of a snag where we didn't have enough ability to split some of these fans because I like to say, like, for these 3 bottom fans, use a splitter, kind of a 3-to-1, and just plug it into one port on the motherboard. We do have a system commander somewhere flying around here. Yeah. Corsair Commander Pro. We have it kind of hanging down in the back right now. We're gonna prop it up properly. But this thing is kind of nice. The downside is you have to use software because it plugs into a USB port in here. It doesn't plug into like a fan header, unfortunately. So you have to use software in order to correctly, manage the speeds of the fans. But basically with this Threadripper having 3 radiators and all of them controlling the temperature of the water based on basically there's what's called a EC1, which is a temp monitor that is plugged right here, wrapped around back, plugged into the motherboard to show us what the temperature of the water is. Now, using this, we're hoping that with the software, it registers that port just like the BIOS does, or even Gigabyte. This is the Gigabyte Aorus Master TRX40 motherboard, obviously. So with Gigabyte software, you do get to read that temperature sensor of what the water is. So we're hoping that Corsair is able to read that as well. If not, you need to upgrade Corsair. But I have hopes. I have high hopes. I have high hopes. And also there is a update to the Gigabyte Aorus Master motherboard in terms of its BIOS. So I did bring a USB with the BIOS on there, so you can update this too. Now there are switches right here for the motherboard BIOS. So it has a dual BIOS system, which is wonderful. One switch will tell you which BIOS to go to, and then there's another switch which will say, do you want to even use the dual BIOS? So my train of thought has always been, if there's a new system BIOS, you can just kind of try it on one of the switches, say switch 2, and if it's wonky and it doesn't work, because we've kind of all been there with BIOSes, then just switch back to your previous BIOS switch. So that's very, very convenient. So right now the loop's been running. A lot of the air sounds, that gurgling and bubbling has dissipated, and it's been quite silent. This is on full blast right now. I can barely even hear the pump, so I really like EK's pump right here. And it is RGB, so everything is plugged in. All the fans are plugged in. We're doing a combination of the commander as well as using ports on the motherboard. And at this point, we're going to drain it real quick just to kind of get this murkiness out of here. And then use acid green. So you want to come and explain what the acid green's all about? Come on, sit down.
Yeah, sure. So, right here? Yeah, the acid green is to actually contribute towards my company's, not my company, but the company that I work for, their logo, and because it's essentially themed for my company, just for me to kind of honor and show that I'm proud of who I work for and where I work, and also with me building this, and it's going to be utilized by many developers in-house. It's just also another way of showing kind of just, I don't know, I want it to be themed for work. I want it to show and reflect something that, in the sense that I care about where I work, and I kind of want this to contribute to that. I don't know if I'm saying that well.
You said that perfectly. That sounds good. All right, so our next stage is going to be draining it, right?
Yep.
And so it's nice and accessible.
Yep.
You know, easy maintenance for work. We just need a bucket and another tube just to connect to that, so it goes right into the bucket. See, he's an expert.
From here to a bucket. And now I'm gonna need to look at that. All right. Yep. Then I should let the rest of it out.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is an efficient loop.
Look at that. Look how much it's actually pulling out of the loop. Look at that. That's actually really good. The fill port actually works. The drain port actually works. Oh man. I don't have to feel like I'm siphoning gas from someone's car. Let me get it everywhere now. Nice.
It's a nice color.
Yeah, it does look nice. And keep topping her off.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, those air bubbles. Look at that. That's actually a good. That's a good system. The fill port's at the highest. So look at it just pushing that air out. That's actually working like it should. That is awesome.
All right, so we got the 3990X 64 core 128 thread up and being cooled. The next step is to install the latest BIOS that Gigabyte just put out on their website, and then install Windows 95.
Yep. No, 98 SE. At least second edition.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So, what are your thoughts on this so far?
I mean, I'm not entirely new or estranged to water cooling, but I will say that this is, as everyone can see, the first iteration that I did, I just threw it together, right? I like slapped it together. And the things that I noticed when I was actually filling it, it didn't fill correctly and it didn't drain correctly. Like it was actually hard to The maintenance and essentially the things that I needed it to be were not there, because it'll be at an office. So if something does go wrong and I need to work on it, or I need to fill it, just add more water. I don't want it to be this big ordeal where I have to open it up and do all this stuff.
Yeah.
So
efficiency.
So that quality of life was not there. So it is now.
Yeah. So as you saw, we just drained it very easily. Filling it was a piece of cake. Almost right away, all the air bubbles were just kind of coming right up, and that's what we wanted to see. So I like this color too. This is quite nice. That's a good choice. Yeah. And we haven't even turned on the RGB yet, so that still needs to be done. And so we got our next steps: BIOS, and then Windows, and then in kind of a recap video, we'll do some show some benchmarks and show where everything goes. But
Solitaire, Minecraft.
Exactly. No, Minesweeper.
Minesweeper. Sorry. Did I say Minecraft? Did I say Minecraft? Sorry, my kids.
We're going way back.
My kids. I can't.
Yes. And maybe even some hearts. Who knows? Free cell. So, all right. This has been quite nice. And so, yeah, office environment. It's all about efficiency, the lowest amount of downtime possible. If anything happens to the CPU, this is all soft tubing, so they can just kind of rip it out real quick, put in a new CPU, not even have to worry about, bending, hard tubing and all that stuff.
It's only $4,000 a CPU. We just swap them out.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Well, there's warranties, right?
I did get that.
There you go. There you go. No, we're not going to be lapping this 3990X, and I don't think we're going to put on LN2.
No.
We're not using liquid metal, but how else can we void the warranty? It's not fully yours until you void the warranty. That's my motto. But I don't think we're going to do any of that. Right now, this is going to be a great addition to the office, and so we'll see how it goes. All right, BIOS time. So powering this beast is a EVGA 1600 watt titanium 2. These power plugs. Absolutely insane. Pretty decent cable management here. Phanteks with their 719 case did an exceptional job of basically, if you can close the back flap here, then you can close the entire side panel. Lots of zip ties here, basically Velcro ties, and we're using the fan hub that is part of the case as well. So a lot of functionality. We're also using the Commander Pro, just has stickies, slapped it right there. We'll be able to see it actually, not that we want to see it, but we'll be able to see it through the tempered glass side panel that's right here. And lots of fans. So this is kind of unavoidable because these cables are not all that long, so we have to do kind of a crossover of the radiator with the fans here. To go to some of this, to go to some of that, and some of the fans are actually plugged directly into the motherboard as well. So we're going to try to boot it on up, put the newest BIOS in it, and but really happy with this cable management. Kind of doing the best we can, close nicely, and going to plug it in soon. Alright, so this Threadripper 3990X has been an interesting experience tonight. We are stuck on a random postcode 60. Basically it says it's the normal boot up sequence, but that's as far as we're getting. Okay, timeout. Future self here. And yes, we did run into a little bit of an issue. So I'm actually currently editing the video that you're hopefully watching, and I know it's one of my longer ones. Kudos to you if you've stuck around this long. I really appreciate it, and so does Robert. He was a great guy, veteran, fought for our country. His daughter is, hanging in there, 8-year-old, got to do what you got to do to, make the child's life as best as possible. And so I was honored to be able to help him build this system. And as we were building it, toward the end of it, switching it on, error postcode 60, and we swapped out the RAM, we swapped out the motherboard, Gigabyte Aorus Master TRX 40 motherboard, wonderful motherboard, same one I have in here in my 3970X system, 32 core, 64 thread. So it ended up being the processor. the 3990X was dead. It just didn't want to work at all. So he lives up the street from Micro Center. That was amazing for him because he was able to take this whole system right up the street. They looked at it, swapped out his 3990X for him, and right away, boom, up and running. And he was elated. So he's good to go. And back to your regularly scheduled program. Like, subscribe, see you in the next one. So right now we're in troubleshooting, but it is 1 a.m. or late. So we may have to revise our strategy in getting this up and running. And but we will try the Q flash, but just in case, Robert, you know, we'll find a way to make this happen.
Yeah.
And but at least we got all the hard stuff done with getting the water cooling all done, soft tubing. We have some decent cable management in the back. So we're happy with the progress that we've made today.
Very much so.
Yeah. So basically we'll figure it out, but that may have to be another time. And in the meantime, more research. That's part of building your own system and finding what works, what doesn't work, and eventually it will all work. So thanks for following me today. And if you like what you saw, you have any questions, comments, concerns, put those in the description below. And but if you liked everything, you know, please hit that thumbs up button. Definitely appreciate it. Feel free to subscribe. Got more, and probably will do a good part 2 with this, especially with benchmarking and everything. So this is part of water cooling life. You know, some things are very easy, some things take some time, and sometimes it's a little bit of both. You know, but either way, this was fun. This was a good experience, and got to spend the day with Robert over here. So this was nice. All right, so definitely, as always, find your balance in life. This is kind of part of ours, having a good time, and have a good one. Peace.